Okay, so welcome to Intuition to Income. This is Abby Gooch, and I'm here today with my dear friend, Nicole Renee. She's so amazing. She is a relationship coach. I want to call her a business coach because she's manifested so much in her life, but she really is a manifesting coach. And she's been doing that, I want to say, since she was a kid because she's so intuitively connected. And I wanted her to come on the show today just because she is so gifted. And she's one of my best friends. I think she can really share with you ways to really drop into your intuition and use it in your everyday living to create what you want in your life. So Nicole, you have this beautiful marriage, beautiful home, beautiful business and life. Can you share with the audience how you got there with your intuition and what really activated and came true for you?
Well, thank you for that introduction. I'm super happy to be talking with you and all of the people. I think first and foremost, I got really committed to my own personal and spiritual growth. That was really a foundation for me, even at the age of 16 and 17. I was in a really tumultuous sort of childhood situation. I moved out at the age of 17, and all throughout that time, what I pulled on was my spiritual connection, my spirituality, and always being willing to grow and learn and evolve and pay attention to what growth opportunity was placed at that time. So yeah, I think, starting there, personal growth and a commitment to growth and a commitment to spirituality, spiritual connection, and being guided from a higher realm, being open to that, was crucial. And I think that in order to stay connected to those two things, automatically we start to heal ourselves, right? Because in order to be, constantly connected to that higher realm, that higher perspective, healing ourselves, forgiving, letting go, all of those things start to come naturally inside of those two commitments.
So how do you feel you connect to that higher realms when you talk about higher guidance? So what is your access point and the way that you connect and then take action from that place?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things. One is definitely paying attention to my feelings. I think in our society, we are sort of almost conditioned to suppress our feelings. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things that has us at times be really conflicted about our intuition. And so for me, what that means about processing feelings, that doesn't mean that I experience an emotion and then I let it overcome me, and then that emotion sort of drives my entire week or life, right? It's processing the feeling, allowing the feeling to be acknowledged, allowing the feeling to be felt, whether that's even an uncomfortable feeling like grief or anger, and allowing it to metabolize and understand that emotions can metabolize and release. Right? It's kind of like weather, right? The storm comes through, it rains, we have really dark clouds, and then it moves through us, moves away, and then we have a sunny day. So allowing emotions to actually flow and process through, understanding that they're a natural part of flow. And when we can allow ourselves to do that, I believe that we're then able to feel and sense on a more subtle level. Right? So now we're not numbed out. We're not numbing ourselves out. We allow ourselves to feel. And then because we're practiced at feeling and allowing ourselves to feel and processing that, we're now able to sense and feel things on a more subtle energetic level in our heart, right? In an intuitive sense. So I think that how we process our feelings and feeling feelings is one. I think staying in communication with source or the universe, right? So for me, I have a daily journaling practice. Sometimes that journaling practice is I'm just writing whatever I feel. If any of you know Julia Cameron and The Artist's Way, she talks about morning pages, right? Getting the muck out of the way. Sometimes those are letters to the universe. I'm like, dear God, I need guidance on such and such. Dear universe, I'm open to. Dear guides, I'm open to, right? This is what I need your support in. So the very act of saying and choosing energetically to be open to guidance versus trying to figure it all out ourselves, right? In our sort of humanness and where we go into our head space, we'll sort of try and figure it out, try and figure it out, try and figure it out. That's our logical brain, right? When we choose to set that aside and open, it pops over to our creative mind. It also opens us up energetically to whatever messages can come through. So that's kind of how I keep grounded in that and keep that open.
So it sounds like you move into your heart, and then you're actually using a tool, a practical tool to write, to just let the information flow. And then you kind of have the evidence, okay, do this, write this, take that action.
Definitely. Yeah. Going beyond those sort of like physical thinking processes into, like you said, into the heart space, into a higher self space. Absolutely.
So Nicole, I know you've manifested some awesome things like your new home and husband and some great things. Can you kind of talk about the process of manifesting those and what you actually have? You know, obviously I'm sharing some of it, but how you manifest.
Well, as a manifestation teacher, I've created my own 8-step process. So I teach a process. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And I'll just highlight a few things. And since we're talking about intuition, following divine guidance is one of those steps, right? So, so intuition is absolutely a part of manifestation in my book, like hands down. So, you know, where do you get started? You get started with your desire, right? Like, what do you want? What is on your heart? And what I teach my students is to transform your relationship with desire. Oftentimes, the desire that you have in and of itself is all the guidance that you need, because the desires that are placed there on your heart that are there for you, they're there from a higher realm. They're there for a higher purpose. You don't just desire to start a business or desire to create an amazing relationship off of some random whim, right? Usually there's some purpose behind that. And it's okay to want what you want, right? Earlier, I talked about how I feel like we're kind of suppressed in our desire. So sometimes we can get conflicted in our desire, right? There's what we actually want. There's what we think that we should want. So spending some time allowing yourself to desire, allowing your desires to be expressed, and then choose to manifest for one, right? So then taking one of those desires, whether it's an amount of money, whether it's a relationship, whether it's, you know, a specific object like a house or a car or a specific purse, right? And deciding, I'm going to have this, right? And even if you don't know the how, right? Even if you don't know exactly, you know, how you're going to have the money or where it's going to come from, just choosing that that's going to be so. And then oftentimes when we do that, what comes rushing in and all the reasons that it can't be, right? All the reasons that it might not, all of the obstacles, all of the things that are sort of in the way, right? And they, you know, a lot of coaches talk about this gap between this thing that you want and the actual fulfillment of it. So then there's the work to uncollapse that and look at, well, you know, what of this? So for example, if we talk about money, since you're talking about intuition to income, so what beliefs do I have that are not in alignment with this amount of money that I want? Maybe I want to receive an additional $1,000 this week. Maybe I want to receive a significant sum of money, like $5,000 or $10,000 or more. Well, what are all of those sort of automatic thoughts and reasoning that that's not possible for you? You want to get those acknowledged and you want to get those out of the way, because as long as you have a narrative, an internal dialogue, or beliefs floating around that are not consistent with this thing that you want, then you're probably not going to take actions toward it, right? You're probably not going to become an energetic match, so to speak, as a lot of teachers talk about, for it. And you're probably not going to be open to guidance for it. So distinguishing those negative beliefs, for example, abundance versus scarcity, right? So, you know, do I believe that scarcity is the foundation of all things, or do I believe abundance is the foundation of all things? So obviously there's more steps from there, you know, as you distinguish those negative beliefs and get them out of the way, write your new vision, how it's going to go. So, you know, I'm so happy and grateful now that I received this $10,000, right? Or whatever that specific thing is. And along the way, that guidance is going to come to you, right? The universe wants what you want. Your guides want what you want. And oftentimes what we feel called to manifest is also the exact thing that's going to put us on a path of personal and spiritual growth. It's going to ask our soul to evolve. So there's a saying that says, it's not the destination, it's who you become along the way. And so for me, manifestation is not just about going out and getting what you want. While of course that's, true for me, and it's great to have those great things, but it's who do you get to become? How do you grow as a person along that path? And for me, there's so much more gratification there.
That's beautiful. I love
Yeah.
it. So tell me about your house. I got a phone call from you, I want to say like a week ago, with this just exciting news. And I just love, first of all, the company, the name that you connected with, and just that whole story. So do you want to share a little bit about how that happened? Because it's just really fun.
I mean, yeah, it's certainly, I was married almost 2 years ago now. I guess we're like right at the 18-month mark. That was a very consciously manifested relationship and marriage. So that was like a conscious, deliberate thing in my life. And then in our partnership, we've, in our own way, right? We've, because my husband is opposite me in so many ways, which is actually quite delightful. Because we're so balanced, but we have, consciously created our continuous next steps, right? Like as a team, as a life partnership. So of course, one of those things was home ownership. There's a lot of details that have moved into that, but I can definitely tell you that what I knew that I didn't want is I didn't want to go house hunting for 6 months. There's so much happening in growth in my businesses and in my life, and so much change that to devote like every weekend house hunting, I was like, nope, that doesn't sound good to me. Yeah, and I think deep down there was this desire to have something really beautiful and really sort of pinnacle. But then at the same time, since we're both like homeowners for the first time, kind of like anything would feel that way because it's just stepping into homeownership. So we weren't even really looking. And probably right around Easter, we sort of like, we went on this walk and we sort of came upon this, I don't know, this property. It was like condos, and we sort of followed that nudge and we started to look at what was available. And like I said, we weren't actively looking. We just sort of knew that this was something that was on our horizon. So we found this condo. We totally fell in love with it. We're like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is it. And we wanted to make an offer that Monday, and it was Easter weekend. And apparently by that Monday, an offer had already been made. It was already closed. It was already gone. And we were like, wow. So this is something that I now, looking back, fully understand, that was an intuitive guidance. Even though that deal fell through, I was very aware that like, okay, and the universe, my guide, showed me that at this particular time for a very specific reason. And now we were hungry for it. We were like, well, your ego is a little bit like, I wanted what I wanted, but now it's gone. So we're like, well, there must be something else. So we start looking. Then we find this another amazing next house. It was an actual house, not a condo. So it was better. My husband was like itching for it. We put an offer on this. And it was actually during this process. And I think this is kind of what you were talking about, that all along that for previous several months, I had an affirmation programmed in my phone that said, you are about to receive more money than you've ever received before. And one of the reasons that I put this in my phone about 4 months ago was because as I have been developing my business as a manifestation coach and spiritual life coach, the one thing that I felt that I hadn't ever fully manifested as of yet was a significant sum of money, like a real lump sum, large sum of money. Like I've manifested clients, I've manifested increasing income, I knew and I felt confident in my relationship with money that way, but I hadn't fully received this, what I would call a significant sum. And then it was through this process. So this had been coming up in my phone, every day. We're kind of in the midst of this home buying thing. And basically what ended up happening was, we, via a family member, received a very significant sum of money. And it was after I had said a prayer in my journal of just like, dear God, please help me to have this financial miracle, not just for the money, but to know myself as someone and therefore be a demonstration to others that this type of manifestation is possible and available to them. Like that is at the core what was driving that. And so then it came in, and then essentially, long story short, another deal fell through, and then we ended up deciding to build a brand new home, which for us is really like a dream home, So, there's a lot to share in that, right? It's that continuously being willing to grow and be open, continuously coming back to your spiritual connection. For me, it was through journal entry. Continuously being willing to do the mindset work. For me, it was that affirmation over and over, willing to believe that's possible, willing to believe, how is that going to happen? I'm willing for it to happen in a multitude of ways. It doesn't have to happen a very specific way. And it's a little bit like, if you know Alice in Wonderland, following the white rabbit, right? It's like, and when we have what we would call a defeat, when we have a setback, when we have a relationship not work out, when we have a house fall through that we don't want, rather than having that guide us to, oh, there must be something wrong, oh, something's bad, oh, I didn't get the thing that I want, turn that around into, okay, what's possible now? So I was shown this property for some reason, and if it were really mine, that would have fallen through. It would have come through to me. There's a saying that I just heard recently that's,
whatever is yours comes to you.
Whatever is yours can never be taken away from you. So, and then that concept on that higher level of what is truly meant to be, right? Oftentimes what is fully possible for us, like possible in reality, we don't see, because we can only see what we've seen. So in order for us to actually open up to possibilities greater than what has been in the past, we have to trust. We have to trust that there's a higher level, that there's a higher power guiding us, because with our human eyes, we can't see it all. That's just not within our capacity. So I think
go ahead. How do you not doubt your guidance? Because I know for me, even as your friend, I like practice as an intuitive, right? But then I'll call you as a friend and be like, oh my goodness, blah, blah, blah. So how do you get out of that monkey mind doubt? Because we all have it. It's a matter of, is your intuition guiding you or that doubt? Like, how do you trust that you said your intuition is actually your connection to the higher power moving through you, so that you're trusting that beyond what those thoughts are telling you, right? That voice of doubt. A processed way to get people really stable and solid in that knowingness.
Yeah, so I think there's a few things that come up for me as you talk about that. One, when you said monkey mind, know that your doubt is at that level of your thinking mind. It's at your kind of limbic system. Typically, doubt has some connection to fear. Fear is usually limbic system, animal brain, right? Fear is there to protect you, right? So we honor fear for that. But fear also can hold us back from things that are in actuality safe. It might not seem like it's safe because we don't see the whole thing, but it's where our fears can create those limitations. So how do you deal with that? For me, like the first automatic answer is it's faith. It is faith that you are being guided from a higher level. It is faith that higher power absolutely loves you and wants your good. There is no greater force out there that is like trying to have your back. And if that is an underlying belief, you want to really look at that. There's a quote by Albert Einstein that's something like, I should almost find it and send it to you, and we should put it in your comments when you post this, because it's like, if you believe the universe has your back, if you believe that the universe wants your good, you're going to have the experience of that. But if you believe that there is somewhere negative power that, wants your doom for dramatic purposes, right? Like wants something bad for you, then you're going to find that too. And so there's this sort of coexistence of understanding how to manage your mind, that you are a being of conditioning and using that to your advantage. And then at the same time, understanding that there is this entire spiritual realm that you have the ability to connect to. And when you put those two things together and you're doing the consistent work, because okay, the doubt's coming up, but at the end of the day, you always have a choice. You get to choose what you're going to believe, right? You get to choose how you're going to direct your energy. And then combining that with having absolute faith that if you at the end of the day surrender to what's good for everyone, that just that in and of itself evokes the power of the omnipresent into your situation and your life.
I love that. The highest and best for everyone, or good for everyone. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
And I think that life starts to become a little more serene. And I invite people to, if you have question about your ability to manifest into your life, then start with little things. And it's just like with any relationship. If you are building a co-creative relationship with the universe, start with creating your day. Start with making contact with the universe. So it could be something, or even with your guides, right? Hey, show me a sign that you are in communication with me and that you are hearing my prayers and that you are in this co-creation process. And then you can decide that sign can be, maybe it's an animal sighting, or maybe you just specifically say something like, well, just make sure that whatever sign that you show me is, a sign that I know that it's you, right? My intention is to have faith in this connection and grow in this connection. And so for that, and so do that like a few days, a few weeks, play with that. There's a book called E Squared by Pam Grout, and it's an entire book of sort of like experiments with the universe. So allow yourself to have that experimentation. And then as you start to manifest these small things, then you start to expand those into greater things. Then you start to apply that to things like an epic love or relationship in your life. Maybe it's amounts of money or in your business, right? So you can expand from those small starts.
That's beautiful. I love it. So when you talked about signs, it's funny because I said that, maybe it was you I talked to. I literally was talking to another friend. I had like 4 signs, like actual physical signs, like license plates, like signs like pop up. I was like, wow, this works. It was really cool. So ask and then just watch and see what you receive. It's pretty fun.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to take a sip of my kombucha.
Yeah, of course. So is there any other, like, I don't know, 3 next steps or ways you would guide people into connecting with their intuition to manifesting specifically what they want, and then asking for your help in it? Is there a way they can contact you to get really specific? And also, I know you have your process to share, so they can apply it to their lives as they are creating them now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so one, if you don't have some kind of daily practice, I recommend you get one. And if you are someone who's like, I don't have time, that can be 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe if it can't be every day, maybe it's every other day, right? And then what is that practice? Is it a journal? Is it a meditation? Is it, having like some intuitive cards?
Mm.
And, daily you're open to receive a message through these cards. So something that has some kind of anchor and consistency. And this is my time to connect with my higher self and my higher power. Or, this is my time to just sort of share what's on my heart, dump it out in a journal. If you have an exercise practice, maybe you combine it with that, right? So something that brings some kind of consistency in kind of accessing these higher realms, if you will, accessing these deeper parts of yourself. Mm-hmm. And then I'm trying to think if there's another one. I think 2 is commit to your personal growth. So if that is, you're reading a new personal growth book, or you're getting it on Audible, if it's, you're signing up in a program, you're taking an online course, a commitment to growth and development is going to kind of keep you grounded in the I'm available for expansion. I'm available for higher levels of awareness. And then maybe there's some community around that. So oftentimes if you take a course, there's a Facebook group. You know, usually nowadays, if you're listening to an audiobook, there's somewhere online you can connect with others. So committing to your personal growth, having that personal growth have some sense of community and connection around it. And then, yeah, if you want to learn my 8-step process, you can, a few things. So one, I have a free Facebook group called Manifest Massively. So you could certainly join us there. And, you know, I post probably every other day. At least that's my goal, to engage. You can also ask me questions there. I do have the Manifest Massively mini course for sale for $33. It's a 1-hour video along with some worksheet downloads, and it takes you through my exact 8-step process that I teach and how to manifest what you desire and develop those areas. And we talked about some of those today with desire, indecision, clearing negative beliefs. And then it goes on to follow divine guidance and clearing physical space. So it is a pretty comprehensive process. It's a great place to start. It's also a great place to expand on, because maybe you have had, you know, some experience with manifesting, but you kind of want to expand and look at, okay, what's next for me? And then you can also find me on my website, NicoleReneeRay.com, and pretty much there's ways that you can contact me there, and my other little courses and things are available. So
Nicole, can you spell that for people to get access to your website?
yeah. So it's Nicole, NicoleReneeRay.com. And then the Facebook group is Manifest Massively. And I believe I've got some links for you to the Facebook group, and then also to the mini course for those that are interested in that.
Beautiful. So let's see, I always like to ask, is there any like last words of wisdom or ways that like when people think of you in like one sentence, they can be like, oh yeah, I remember Nicole said this, and this will just keep me on the path, the intuitive path of your highest.
Yeah, I guess like what comes to mind immediately is just staying open to what's possible for you. In other words, you know, in the book, The Soul of Money, Lynn Twist is the author of that book, and she talks about the 3 myths. And one of those myths is about scarcity being a lie. But another one of those myths is that's just the way it is. And I don't know when this is going to be posted, but at the time of this recording, we are dealing with something in our world right now that is questioning the status quo about how we relate to each other as human beings. And it's people rising up to question that's just the way it is. So anywhere in your life that you're tolerating or accepting something as that's just the way it is and it can never be any other way, I invite you to have the awareness to catch yourself, and you know, and to have faith that even if you can't see what's possible for you beyond that, to know that something is possible beyond that. And just that alone, just that awareness alone, you can be guided through there.
That's beautiful. And sometimes it's just moment by moment, you know, step by step, just the next step and then the next.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's
yeah.
awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Nicole. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we log off?
Oh, just I'm so grateful. I love talking about this stuff. I really believe in just humanity and the power that we all have. And I just find it, I'm just really grateful to be in these conversations and to share growth in my own life and to support others in theirs. So I really thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for being here, Nicole. All right, everyone, we'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.